Mission Wisconsin really feels like that's our thing. That's what we do really well, is that high-touch concierge service. And the reason our members support it is because they know they're getting an employee that has been matched, not sold on their job, right? They're getting somebody that wants to work there.
Today we're speaking with Steve Janke. Steve is a Marine Corps veteran and founder and CEO of Mission Wisconsin. He worked for the state of Wisconsin as a statewide veterans field representative and military talent attraction program manager. Now he's helping employers hire more veterans and helping veterans find careers that align with their goals. Let's jump in to learn more.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Steve. So what is Mission Wisconsin and what do you guys do?
Brian, it's great to be here. Mission Wisconsin is a military talent attraction company for the state of Wisconsin. And what we do is we go to active duty military bases to talk to transitioning service members and their families about the opportunities that Wisconsin has. Not just the career opportunities, but the opportunities for a great quality of life. The benefits that we have are second to none, and the fact that Wisconsin is the best state in the country for veterans and their families. So we often like to joke that we don't sell Wisconsin, we just merely share the story and Wisconsin sells itself. It is truly the great state of Wisconsin, and we just feel that spreading the word about what we have to offer and then helping them connect to our member companies and then the communities they're going to live in is truly the value that we provide. So when we talk to employers, like our partners, our clients, our members, when we talk to them about what we do, we say, we're not a staffing agency, we're not a placement firm, right? Like, we do talent attraction. So we go and we talk about the great state of Wisconsin, and we're gonna build your network in the state by connecting you personally to these member companies that we have relationships with. And what that means is you're gonna get referrals from us to hire. We want you to hire 400, right? We want you to hire as many as you can, because if you're hiring them, we know they're coming to a place where they're supported, a company that truly gets it, and then we can help them connect to the community, the resources and benefits, and the education that they have all earned through their service. So we don't just focus on the employment piece. We feel that's a third of it. And we really like to treat the transition as a whole process. So supporting that family through the most uncertain time, right? Case in point, we helped a military family relocate from London to Madison, Wisconsin. Now, mind you, they had never been to Madison except for 35 days. She was in the Air Force, he was in the Air Force. They spun up Truex Field on, I think, the F-35s, right? So they were there for 35 days. And they're stationed in London now. Well, they're not now. Now they live in Sun Prairie. But prior to that, and they saw Mission Wisconsin. And they said, can't hurt, like, let's find out what this is. So they came in and we started talking to them about Wisconsin, and they chose Wisconsin. They're from California originally. They fell in love during those 35 days, but they didn't know how to get here. So we connected her through Hiring Our Heroes and the Corporate Fellowship Program. We connected her to a couple of our partners, and she has successfully transitioned from London to Sun Prairie with her husband and her family. So she's in the great state of Wisconsin now. She's currently, I think she just graduated an internship with Oshkosh Defense, but she is happy, and we've connected her to the community, the resources, all those benefits. But that whole time that she's going through it, she is looking for a job, trying to pack up an entire life that they have in London, send it across the pond to a state that she's never been, in which she knows no one other than her husband. So by working with us, we helped her start to build that community and that camaraderie that every veteran and their family wants when they leave service, but they don't know how to find it, because they're going from a life where they're always supported to where it's just that.
Absolutely.
So Mission Wisconsin really feels like that's our thing. That's what we do really well, is that high-touch concierge service. And the reason our members support it is because they know they're getting an employee that has been matched, not sold on their job, right? They're getting somebody that wants to work there, not somebody that needs to work there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. That's an awesome success story to hear as well. I'm interested just to figure out how you started this organization and why, number one, because not a lot of people have an interest in getting into like sort of the HR hiring recruiting field. But the one thing that I see and I hear a lot is the transition part, right? Veterans leaving the military, trying to find a career. What do you think the biggest gap is there, and is that the reason why you started Mission Wisconsin?
Mission Wisconsin is a for-profit company that initially started as one of the best ideas a state government had ever created, to go out and attract talent to the state of Wisconsin. It initially started as a state program that I ran and developed when I worked for state government. And much like everything in government, it has to end because government is going to government. Like that's what they do. So I understood that. And so July of 2020, global pandemic, all of those fun things is when I started Mission Wisconsin, because we had made a promise. I had stood up on stages all over the world in the 20 months prior and made promises to service members and their families that the great state of Wisconsin would be there for them, like it has since 1848. So I felt an obligation to hold up my end of that donkey. So Mission Wisconsin was started to fill the void that was left after that state program ended. So we are the only talent attraction company in the state that focuses on military talent. And I didn't start it to get in the HR recruiting. I started it because it combined two of my greatest loves, right? The Marine Corps and the military and the great state of Wisconsin together, right? So if I can support my brothers and sisters, in arms, in something that is wildly difficult, and it's not a cookie cutter. You and I both know that everybody talks about TAPS being broken, and TAPS is the chow hall, right? Like, are you bringing Tabasco? Are you bringing some chili pepper, right? Like, how are you going to salt your food? You're going to pepper it, right? TAPS is for everyone. So they have to create it that way. And you get out of it what you take, not what they give you. So it's how you season that food that matters, that makes it good. And we know that, right? But the service members think, like, imagine if you worked at a company and then that company spent the last year you worked there helping you find another job. Like, do you think they would be really like saying, like, we want to do this well? No, right? They don't want you to leave, which is why retirement TAPS is different than regular TAPS. Yeah. Because they want to keep you. They've invested money in training you. So we know that there's that gap in transition where everyone talks about employment. And we understand that employment matters. But we also think that what matters more is that you're going to a place that's supporting you, a place that builds that community and builds that collaboration and has that interconnectedness, right, of the military family. And Wisconsin is that place. So we go and talk about Wisconsin, and we talk about the opportunities, and we talk about the lower cost of living, which is 8% lower than the national average. And we talk about the ease of buying a home, which is 18% lower than the national average. We talk about being number one in cranberries, horseradish, soy sauce,
there you go.
Haribo gummy bears, number one in cheese, number two in fluid milk. Like, happy cows are not in California. They're always escaping, running down the mall, all of those things. But we talk about the 26,000 miles of lakes and streams. We talk about the 66 state parks. We talk about the 4,000 miles of hiking and biking trails that this state has. We talk about those things because we understand that you can work anywhere, but we want you to live in Wisconsin, right? And we encourage that because a career now, especially, like, you can find a job anywhere, but like, what's truly going to make your life happy, right? Like that work-life balance, we believe it's here. So we want to support the military family not only through that employment with one of our great Wisconsin employers, but also to the communities as a whole that they're going to live in Wisconsin. For instance, we had a gentleman that we helped his family. We met him in 2019, Fort Gordon, Georgia, and it is September of 2020, and he hits me up on LinkedIn, and he's like, "Steve, is Wisconsin still an option?" And I said, "Since 1848, man. Like, let's do this." And he goes, "Well, my wife wants snow and horses." And I said, "Brother, do I got a place for you? You're gonna love this place." And he's like, "All right, man, I'm going to send you a resume. And he was Navy Intel, 11 years, right? Submarine. So submariners, they're a different cat. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, so translating his resume into like the civilian sector, a bit challenging. Like trying to figure out where he's going to match. But ultimately, what he does is he takes large amounts of complex data and refines them into something that even I could understand. Right? That's what an Intel person does.
Yep.
So he's going to be a really good data analyst, a really good business analyst. Like if we're talking about manufacturing, a scheduler, somebody that can take all of those things together and then make sure everything happens at the right time. So we introduced him to our client company, Fincantieri, and they loved him. They interviewed him virtually from Georgia. He'd never been to Wisconsin. And they offered on his initial job that he applied for. And then they came back to him and they said, hey, listen, we want to make you the offer on this job because we want you to know that we want to hire you. We think you have a skill set that's going to be really good here, and we want to bring you to Wisconsin. But we also think that you're going to have a little bit more of a challenge in this role. It's going to pay more, but it's going to be harder, right? It's going to make you uncomfortable in the beginning. But ultimately, we know that you're going to thrive in this position and you're going to like it a bit more than this one. Now, we're offering you this one, so you can say yes to this one, but we think you might get bored, right? Just based on your background and what you've done. And we really think that you'll grow into this one, and we want to hire you for this one. Calls me up and he's like, Steve, is that normal? Like, first of all, no. Second of all, it shows that they're a really good company when it comes to this, right? Like identifying and recognizing talent and then being able to say, hey, I know you applied for this one. Like, let's drop that resume on this one and we'll just hire you, for it. That means that they understand the value of talent, and that while they know that they could have you here and pay you less because they're working with me, and we don't do that. We're not a placement fee. Like, we don't get paid when you get hired. We just want you to get hired. That they can bump you to that level because it's not going to cost them anything, right? So he goes, that's fantastic. He called them back, accepted the higher offer, the more challenging job, right? The job that some folks would be scared of. December 14th was his first day. December 14th of 2020 was his first day at Fincantieri. His family unloaded the U-Haul in Portersfield, Wisconsin, which is just outside of Crivets. December 29th. They have 5 acres, a horse, a pig, 2 dogs, 3 cats, a couple chickens now. His wife Heather and his daughter Emily are in heaven. And he wouldn't be here had he not met us in
That's
Georgia.
great. That's an awesome story.
So
you talked about the employer identifying something that they obviously saw something in that veteran. How do employers get better at doing those sorts of things? Because we talked about this before we were on camera. You were sharing a resume with me about a veteran who said machine gunner.
yeah,
and they send that out to employers, and employers don't know how to diagnose that, right?
because they're not hiring machine gun operators, right?
Exactly.
Like, if they are, I want to find that company and I'd like to sign them up. I got a ton of those.
So how does the employer get better at it too? Because it goes both ways,
Absolutely.
right? The veteran clearly doesn't know what they're doing or what they're putting together on the resume, but also it's on the other side too, where there is a lot of soft skills that the military veteran brings to the table that I feel, should be listed, in their database. Say, leadership, they have safety training, like all these different things listed that are basic things that a veteran goes through, right, when they're in their training. But also on that side too is helping them identify some of the unique skills that they do have.
And one of the things that we do with our member companies is we talk with them about that. So, like when we introduced Ben, we didn't just send them a resume. We sent them a summary of Ben. We said Ben has a wife, he has a daughter, he wants acreage and a house and snow. All right, all things Wisconsin has. But we also said he's been in Navy intel for 11 years. So we helped them to understand what that meant, right? So what that means is large amounts of data, quantifiable. If we talk about like that machine gun operator, right? Truly, that skill set is the ability to deliver time on target, right?
Yep.
Like to meet deadlines, goals, to communicate clearly, precisely under stress and pressure. So whether that kid wants to operate a machine gun, or he wants to do sales at a bank, or he wants to work production, at Amcor or Fincantieri, he's going to show up on time. He's going to accomplish his tasks in an orderly manner, and he's going to go about his day doing the things that he had learned in the military, right? And oftentimes people think in the military that they're just so rigid, right? Like if you're not telling them what to do every second of every day, then you're going to lose them. Well, I don't know about your experience. I know about my experience, and I know that there was not somebody telling me what to do every second of every day. There was a mission that we had to accomplish and obstacles that we had to overcome in order to accomplish that mission. And part of what the military brings is we're going to accomplish the mission. And then we're going to go back afterwards and we're going to do something that we call like AARs, right? We're going to talk about what we did well and what we did poorly, and then we're going to adjust the next time we do it so we can get better. So the short answer is, how do companies get better at hiring? The same way that you get better at anything, sets and reps, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be willing to have the conversation and admit that you don't know what you don't know. And the SHRM groups do a great job. There's a military hiring, cert you can get through SHRM and all of those things. But until you've sat down with a veteran, and somebody transitioning out, and truly understand where they're at versus where you're at, because every time they apply for a job, right, every single application they put in, that's their future, right? And it's not different than anybody else applying for a job, except for their future comes with a deadline. And that deadline is the date that they have to transition, right? Transitions isn't something that you choose to do. Transition is something that happens to you.
Yep.
And you can either be proactive in it and lean forward, or you can be reactive to it. And part of our coaching is we help them to be proactive. We set up key gating criteria. We coach them through it. We make transition so easy a Marine can do it, right? Like it truly is. But it's because we do it every day. And we help our companies to get to that level where it's also something they do every day. Associated Bank is a member of ours, and they do a fantastic job because they put the time and effort in to understanding what that experience is for the candidate, right? Mm-hmm. So they know that when they drop an app in and they're sitting in Okinawa, Japan, it doesn't mean that they're living in Okinawa, Japan. It means they're leaving Okinawa, Japan, and they want to know that there's going to be a job to come home to. Because one of the most appalling stats, and one of the reasons that my company exists, is 52% of veterans take unemployment at some point in the 6 months after leaving service, right? It costs the federal government billions of dollars for that. And it leads to the worst thing that the veteran community experiences, which is a 22 a day, mm-hmm. right? That cycle of despair and depression as you click the apply button on LinkedIn and Indeed and never hear anything. It's like my Twitter account, right? Yeah. Like I just send out tweets and there's nothing. I feel like I'm in, it's a vacuum. But that gets to somebody that just left the world's greatest team, right? Where every single day they wake up, they have a purpose, they have a mission, and they're supported, even if they're terrible. Dude, you know how hard it is to get fired from the military? Like, you gotta work.
You got a contract too.
I know, right? Like, you gotta try hard.
Yeah.
So, even if you're a bad machine gun operator, right, they're still gonna support you and help you get better because you're under contract, right? You don't have that security in the civilian world. So they don't understand that. So companies that don't respond quickly, companies that say, well, our hiring process, it's like 45 days and we're going to do 17 interviews and all of that. It's awesome. You're probably not going to hire a whole lot of folks.
Yeah.
Like in the market now, you're not going to hire a whole lot of folks, period. But if you can tell that family or my team what's going to happen, how this process is going to work, and we can communicate it to them, they're fine. They understand that. They get it, right? But much like them transitioning and them hiring, it's all about repetition. you revert to the level of your training, you don't rise to the occasion.
That's awesome, man. Preparation, you talked about it when they're transitioning out. How soon should they be thinking about this stuff? And, you know, obviously you're going to these bases, you're talking to these guys and stuff like that. And when those guys are thinking about transitioning, how soon are they coming to you and saying, yeah, I have about 8 months left or 10 months left? But what's your opinion? Like, how far ahead should they be thinking about this?
It's never soon enough.
Yeah.
The day you enter, you should be thinking about leaving. One of the great pieces of advice that I heard somewhere was, you should always write your resignation letter on the day you start your job, because you're never going to be in a better mindset. You're never going to be more filled with like opportunity and, you know, the future and all that. But it's also going to make you reflect on the fact that no matter what you're doing, it ends. At some point, it's going to stop. So when you think about transition and you think about leaving the service, I would recommend like 18 months to 2 years before you got to start you got to spend some time in that space every day. You know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, LinkedIn profile, kind of looking at what you want to do and seeing other people that have done it, but you don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it. Just start having those conversations. And then, you know, at a year, you need to get serious, right? Because that is going to fly by. I mean, you and I both remember being a triple-digit midget, and then all of a sudden you were a double-digit midget, and then next thing you know, you're like, oh, shit, I'm out, right? Like, what happened? I'm drinking at the enlisted club in Kaneohe, and then next thing you know, I'm milking cows on a farm in Wisconsin, and I was like, dear God, what happened? You know, it happens so fast, and you often don't realize all the things that need to be done prior to. So we help the military family with that piece for free, right? We support them through it by helping them with the resume, with the transition coaching, with the LinkedIn piece, but more importantly, with the network and connections that they're going to need to be successful in the great state of Wisconsin or beyond. You know, last year we helped more than 250 military families through transition. 110 of them were to Wisconsin or in Wisconsin already. So while Wisconsin is our most favorite state, right? 30th to the union, number one in your heart, right? It's just it is a great state with two coasts. We also understand it might not be everyone's cup of tea, right? And we get it. You're not mentally tough enough to handle Wisconsin. We don't want you either. But what we do want is for you to be successful wherever that is. So we helped a 63-year-old Air Force, Navy or Air Force veteran in California. How we found this, I think it was through a LinkedIn one-off, right? But he was at the Salvation Army or Goodwill, and he was selling his stuff. And he lived in a one-bedroom apartment with his wife, and he was her primary caregiver. And this guy goes, I just can't help him, right? Like, I don't understand. The person that introduced us was the executive or the director of that Goodwill or Salvation Army. And he's like, I don't have the employment chops to find this guy a job. So introduced him to us, and we work with Bob. And Bob is an actual rocket scientist. He retired from Raytheon after 37, like he last served in like 1981, right? He retired from Raytheon, had a really good pension, all of those things. His kids, who both served in the Army, ran into some trouble, divorce, PTSD, like those type of things. So he supported them. And then his retirement got low, and he's living in California. His retirement got low, and then he sold the house, right, to boost it. And then he started looking for ways to make money fast, and some scammers took advantage of him and convinced him to invest in some really, 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 really bad ideas. And Bob's a nice guy, but he's not of this generation. So 63, right? It was like helping my dad find a job, which is kind of painful. I'm not going to lie. But to shorten the story, we met Bob in November. January 4th, he started a new job with Jacobs Engineering in Houston, Texas, living 5 miles away from his son with his wife. And he's making $200K plus per year, right? But Bob never gets there if Bob doesn't run into us. So we'll help you go anywhere. I like to joke because we're in Wisconsin, right? We'll help you go anywhere except Illinois. No one should go there.
Yeah,
right.
I agree with that.
We'll even help you go to Illinois. It's not a bad place. It just doesn't have the benefits. And if you're in Illinois, you're one state closer to Wisconsin. So we'll get you.
That's great. You had talked before we jumped on video here, government agencies and how you're starting to work with them as well. Can you just explain a little bit about that and what you're doing to help government agencies also bring in veterans?
Yeah, so counties and municipalities, local governments, like they have the same talent problem that everybody else does. They often lack the resources or the wherewithal to mount actual campaigns to like recruit talent. And part of that is because it's taxpayer dollars, right? Like ultimately that is going to be a barrier. So our company, we work with the International Counties and Municipalities Association to help service members leaving service connect through the DoD Skill Bridge program to counties and municipalities throughout the state of Wisconsin. And we think that working with them as members of Mission Wisconsin provides a great value not only for that county and that municipality, because service members serve even after they're done serving, right? Like you may leave the service, but the service never leaves you is kind of the thing. So you always want to give back. And some of that way that they always give back is through municipal civil service jobs, right? I'm not telling you they're beating down the door, but oftentimes they get here, they try corporate America, and they realize maybe not what I really want to do. Maybe I do want to work for my community that has supported me through this transition piece. So we help build those connections and make that piece stronger. So right now we are currently, New North is a member of ours. They're a regional economic development organization representing 18 counties in northeast Wisconsin. And they're a member of ours because they understand the value that provides to their community. So they don't do the talent pipeline piece, but it's also raising awareness of the military community in New North to the New North investors, right? And then they can also track how many new military families are coming to that region through our efforts. And then they also provide then me with a connecting point to every community in that county through them.
That's awesome.
Right.
Love to hear that.
So it's not about me working harder, it's about working smarter, you know?
Absolutely. So if I'm a company here in Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and I want to either set up a program to hire more veterans or learn more about what you do, what's the best way for them to get started?
It's mission-wisconsin.com is our website. There's a company portal page in there. You fill that out, and then we're going to get back to you immediately about scheduling a meeting with me, and then we'll sit down and talk about the best way for you to build out, your ERG to be represented at those. I mean, this year we're going to do 40 in-person events, not in the state of Wisconsin. We recruit in Wisconsin too, but we also understand that talent attraction takes place outside of the great state of Wisconsin. So we want to bring them here. So we're doing 40 in-person events. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be in, North Carolina, doing 3 events over that week. And we want to be able to connect those folks, build their network with your companies. So the best way to get in touch with us is mission-wisconsin.com and fill that out and set up a meeting. And we'll love to talk to you about everything that you want to do, because Brian, like the military veteran hiring space, that's like boiling the ocean. Where do you start? And it's a lot like eating an elephant. You start one bite at a time, right? And we think that the best way to do it is understand the talent. Once you start to hire the talent, then you start to build the programs. And we can be with you every step of the way while you do it. From the talent pipeline all the way to the ERGs, to the skill bridge, to the big stuff. That's
awesome. And the same thing for veteran side too. Do you have a list of events on your website that they can go to see, like if you're going to be in their area?
Yeah, our website also has if you're a veteran watching this or a military family member, so military spouse or dependent, we'd love to help you for free. What we provide is that transition coaching and those connections to resources and benefits that you've earned. And it's all free for the military community. So you can go to mission-wisconsin.com, and then you can go for the transitioning service member side and fill out that intake, and all of a sudden you're going to get an email back saying, hey, we'd love to talk with you, schedule a meeting with Steve. And that's where the coaching begins. And it can be one call or it can be every week, right? It's really about what you want to accomplish in the space, not what I want to accomplish. So we're going to help you go wherever it is you want to go and do whatever it is you want to do. Another great story is a friend of mine now who was a sergeant major in the Army. He's getting out. He realized a couple things during the pandemic, right? First month, he realized like his wife was really hot. Second month, he realized his kids like him and his wife does too. Third month, he realized I don't deal with a lot of knuckleheads right now and I kind of like this. Fourth month, they start talking about like, well, we're going to go back to in person, like we're going to start bringing the troops back, like out of the barracks and all that. And he's like, I don't want to go. So he dropped retirement papers. He's at 24 years, right? He was probably going to be the sergeant major of the Army in like the next 2 to 3 years, which was his goal when he joined. Like he was going to do 30, be a sergeant major in the Army. He dropped retirement papers. His monitor called him up and he's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you can't do that. And he goes, yeah, I can. I love my family and I want to spend more time with them and I'm going to do it in Wisconsin. So he went through the Skill Bridge program, the Hiring Our Heroes Corporate Fellowship program. And I sent him an email when he first started that. And I said, hey, love to help you. Like, let's set up a meeting, welcome to Wisconsin. He goes, I'm good. I got to figure it out. It's like, I sent him back. I'm like, all right, my dude, just like, hit me up when you're ready. 6 weeks later, he's like, hey, I need a meeting. Like, we got to talk about some things. I was like, all right, let's do that. So he came into my office and like the hour we scheduled turned into like 5. But he goes, nobody told me I didn't have to have a job. Like everybody told me I had to have a job when I left. I was like, what do you want to do? He goes, I want to start my own business. I said, all right, like I got 3 questions. Let's do this. He goes, what do you mean you got 3 questions? I'm like, before you can start your own business. 3 questions that'll help me help you. He goes, oh, okay. What are the 3 questions? I said, do you know what you want to do? He goes, yes. Okay. Do you need funding? No. Okay. Have you established your business with the state of Wisconsin? He goes, no. Perfect. I know right where to start. We're going to go to One Stop Business Wisconsin, the portal right there on the DOA site. It's going to cost you about 100, like all told, all in, state filing, federal filing, like all that stuff. It's going to be about like $150. He goes, you're serious? I'm like, yeah. We're going to sit down right now and we're going to file your business with DFI, Department of Revenue, DOA, and the federal government so you have a fine. This means you can set up a bank account, which means you can start making money and then you can pay taxes on it. He's like, why you got to get to the taxes part? And I said,
our favorite part.
Yeah, I was like, because this is what we got to do. And he goes, okay, so we do it. I'm like, perfect. You started a business. You are a business owner. He's like, that's it? Well, that's it, man. Like, do you want some classes I mean, I can connect you to a bunch of resources like, the SBA, Boots to Business, like all of those great things. But if you don't want those, right? Like if you just want to be a leather maker and make some saddles, because that's what he wanted to do, right? Like have at her, Hoss. He goes, I'd really like to set up I think I'm going to need to set up like some sort of website or something, and do some marketing, but I don't understand social media. It's like, all right, let's talk about hashtags and why you should be on Instagram, right? You have a visual product that people can see, and making it is something that they're going to want to watch. He goes, why? I said, I don't know. Like, this is what people do. He's like, that's not real. I said, it is. So you need to get an Instagram account. He's like, the company needs to get an Instagram account. I'm like, yes, the company needs to get. So you need to do that. You need to figure out your marketing. Like, how are you doing it now? He's like, well, friends and family. I'm like, that's awesome. They're going to get sick of buying. Unless they're really into leather, if you know what I'm saying, they're going to get sick of buying it, right? Like, there's only so many book things you can buy. And he's like, it's a good point. I said, so why don't you ask every customer that you've sold to refer you, like to share an email that you craft and send? And then you need to start keeping a database on your customers so then you can market back to them. Because one-time buyer is more likely to be a repeat buyer. And he's like, well, this is really good. And so he's, writing So 4 hours later, he's got a business. He walks out. He's got like 3 pages of notes about like what to do with that next step in the business. And we talk now every quarter about how his business is going and what he's doing. But nobody told him when he was transitioning out that he didn't have to get a job. Like he could start his own thing. He could do that. And so we just helped him find that.
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
So you do more than careers.
I do. Like we do it. Like if you want to mix,
do it all.
if you want to mix paint at Lowe's, I will help you find it. Right. Like, and Lowe's is an awesome company. Do you know that through AMVETS, they have a grant program that if you're in the construction field, you can get a $5,000 gift certificate to a Lowe's for tools.
Really?
As a
I did not
veteran.
know that.
Yeah. So you just got to go through, like AMVETS website has that piece. But that's a fantastic resource, right?
Absolutely.
You know, you just got to be in the construction trades. And then you just show them you are. But who doesn't want $5,000 for tools? Right? It's amazing.
Adds up quickly.
It does. It's really fast. It's like golf clubs. I mean, you know.
So missionwisconsin.com.
Yeah.
You got a phone number they can call as well?
608-697-6936, which is my number, you know. It's out there on the website anyway. You can also find us on LinkedIn at Mission Wisconsin and the Googles, Facebook. We do not have an Instagram account. No, we do not.
You don't need it yet.
We don't need it yet. No.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. Thanks you for your time.
If you support military veterans, military spouses, veteran-owned businesses, and veteran nonprofits, hit the subscribe button below and hit the bell to get alerts on new content coming out. We appreciate your support.